So I want to talk about the leads that we've been bringing in for the last 2 weeks. So last week we did 69, this week we did 67 across a couple of different properties. And within that, we also reached 18,500 people and had almost 40,000 impressions. So one of the things that like I always talk about whenever I go on a listing appointment, whenever I'm talking to somebody that's selling, what you have to understand is that MLS does a particular job. It puts it out into the world, like this is for sale. But it has to be searchable. Like people have to search it, they have to know what they're looking for, and they have to know that I'm looking in this particular area for this particular type of house. And sometimes that misses. Like if somebody is convinced that they want to live in High Park or Roncesvalles or something like that, what are the chances that they're going to look in East York at all? And what are the chances that their real estate agent has drawn a map that includes East York? Like very low, right? So what is this like, these 70, almost 70 people that reached out to us, left their name, phone number, and email for us to contact them about these specific properties. If you were a seller, how much value would that bring?
Well, absolutely, for sure.
And
that's definition of marketing, right? That's the exact
It's
definition
the
of marketing.
definition.
And the fact that we call them after and we ask them, you know, what they're looking for, and then we talk to them about the house, and then they might say, oh, no, that's not the area. But at least we're putting it out there.
Right.
Right.
For them.
And that's like part of this is like, how do you create more exposure for somebody's property? You know, 70 people every week is not nothing. On your last listing, Jonathan, how many times did your phone ring or did you get an MLS lead of somebody that reached out to you saying, I'm interested in this property?
I would say, obviously it depends on the listing, but on average, in a week, I wouldn't say a week, maybe on the entire property itself before it sells, maybe like a handful, I would say. Maybe more, 5, maybe to 10.
Yeah.
If the property is really nice, it would be more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is kind of like the point being is like if all we did was rely on MLS to be able to do this job for us, we'd probably get the job done. But would we get it done faster, and can we attract more offers this way? Because this is really what we want. We want more people that are interested, so we can have more offers.
And most agents, I would say, I don't know the status, but majority of agents, they'll just stick a sign in the lawn, put it on MLS, and hope for the best, right? I think that's normal strategy, and we've been in a bull market for so long, and it worked. But now, when the market's transitioning, like you can't just rely with a sign on the lawn and just hoping for MLS realtors to come in. So like, marketing's huge.
You should do both jobs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, don't assume that somebody's going to bring you a buyer.
And it's also the extra cost as well, because these leads,
Well, they're not nothing, and they can range, but they're usually.
not everybody wants to go through that extra work and investment.
And figuring out how to get those people's information. That's not
for sure.
But the other thing too is like just from the impressions perspective, like 40,000 people in a week saw these properties. That's not including our own marketing to get in front of people. This is just to market houses that we have either coming soon or actively listed. And that's why the reach is so high. Like it puts it in front of a lot of people, and then a few of them are interested enough to be able to click through.
So that 40,000, 45,000 impressions, is that the people that actually saw that ad? Okay, I see.
Yeah, and some people saw it multiple times. That's why the reach is about half of what the impressions were.
Okay.
Because some people will see the ad multiple times.
Okay, makes sense.
Which is good. You want to make sure that like not everybody, like if you saw an ad for an Apple Watch, you're not necessarily going to buy it the first time you see it.
Right.
It's going to plan to see it.
Right.
You're going to see it again. You're going to see it again. You're like, you know what, actually,
Right.
I am interested. And that's going to, we work the same way that Apple or Nike or anybody else works. Is just a little bit of repetition to make sure, like, if you are interested in this, let's make sure that you're seeing it. What are your clients' pain points right now?
From the seller side, I think still the thought that they're not going to get maximum value for their house if they list it
Okay.
because of the perception that's out there, whether it's true or not. I mean, we've seen turnkey properties that are getting multiples and going well over, but I think there's still a perception that they're not going to get what they want for their house.
If it's prepared properly and priced right, do you think they're going to get what their neighbor got in February of 2022?
I'm not sure.
But it's not a hard no.
It's not a hard no.
Because we've seen a couple, like there was,
Yeah.
what was the one that you put an offer on with your client last week?
1.4, 1.5.
Do you think that was consistent with what it would have sold for a year ago?
Yeah.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Like we're just starting to see that.
That's kind of nuts, because if you ask me that question, I'd be like, absolutely not. February prices were like ridiculous.
And this is, I think that the thing is, there's a couple of different factors that you have to take into consideration is location,
Absolutely.
price, and preparation. So that property was priced low and it was prepared really well. It was a flip, right? It was a flip.
Yeah.
But it was a flip that was like they did it well. They put the right materials in there. They staged it right. They, you know, it really showed very, very well. How many offers?
7.
Yeah.
But I think before you were saying that it would probably go for a little lower than that. Like that was kind of like your thought, right? Like
Yeah,
you said maybe 1.25 or something.
No, I thought it was going to be in the 1.3,
Okay.
That's what I thought too.
1.35
Yeah.
kind of range.
But then it went for like 1.4.
Yeah.
And we'll see what this next interest rate hike is. It's this week, right? It's the 25th.
And March-
The 8th.
It's the 8th, March 8th.
The CPI numbers will dictate whether or not we're 0.25% or nothing.
Right.
I don't think there's many other choices other than those two. What I do want to sort of say is, like, and this is what we're seeing, is that there are surprises that are happening in the market where you're like, there's no way it's going to go February pricing. You know, let's take a look at this, and our best guess is on some of these are landing somewhere around, I don't know, like September pricing, right? Like that we've been pretty flat for a while, but I think for the right property, we're starting to see some upticks, and there are some surprises where we're like, whoa. And there was a couple that you had in Pickering that you
Yeah,
said.
they went actually over what I actually thought was market value, but like we're competing with 13 offers, and like I think a couple of weeks ago, even though they're receiving the 10, 13 offers or whatever the amount, it was actually still not going way over. But now I'm actually seeing, because maybe there's no inventory, it's actually going. Like, so for example, Pickering is a property that one of our clients is interested in. Under $1 million, there's one detached property that there's a couple other ones, but they've been sitting on the market, and like, for example, one of them doesn't even have a basement, so it's not really a good comparable. But one that's, I would say, like, that people would be interested in, not fully renovated, but move-in ready, there's one detached home in Pickering. All Pickering, under $1 million.
Yeah.
So, like, everybody's going to flock to that, right?
I think part of it could be, too, the frustration of buyers losing out on a couple, and then
So this
maybe
is
getting a little bit aggressive and being like, we don't want to lose out on another one. We're fed up. Like, let's... And then we all know how that can.
Well, that's fueled
spiral.
us in the past.
Absolutely.
It has been the fuel is like that frustration, like, "Ugh, not again, you know, and they like stretch the budget, find some extra money, whatever it is that they're doing to get to the finish line.
Another thing I've been seeing, which I haven't seen in a long time, is bully offers. Yeah, like 3 or 4 properties in the past week I saw had bully offers.
So
Did they sell?
Yeah.
And was the number?
I'd
lower?
have to look, because it's all kind of happening. They're happening quick. Like a property that I'm like, okay, yeah, we'll get in this week, and we got a little bit of time, like, to go take a look, and then.
So
I don't miss that market.
Here's a couple of things. You know, I don't miss it either. Like, I wish we could just be balanced and kind of stay there. Here would be my suggestion. If you guys were my buyers, and I was talking to you, I would say exactly what you said. Right now, sellers are really unsure of exactly what's going on in the market, and they're afraid that they're not going to get what they want for the property. Getting in early, if I was a buyer, I would want to get in early and do those bully offers. I wouldn't make it a super aggressive bully offer, but I would test to see just what that seller's metal looks like. Like, how scared are you? Because if I put a good offer in front of you, it's not great, and you could maybe do better if you hold off, but here's a good offer. And then stare them down and put a short irrevocable on it and just say, like, this is it. So if you do this in the first day, how many people have gotten to see the property before you? Fewer. Mm-hmm. How many people in this market are going to jump on top of a bully offer on day one?
I don't think many. They'll just
Fewer.
let it go.
They'll let it go.
Yeah.
I think the only people competing in bully offers is when they've lost out like 5 times, like what you were saying before. Like they've lost out so many times. It's like they're ready. They're the ones ready to put in bully offers. Like nobody's putting in a bully offer their first offer. It takes like losing 5, 6, 7 offers, and you have the confidence, and more so like you know how the market is going, because like people looking from far, they're seeing on the news like, oh, doom and gloom. They think the market's coming down, but when you're active in the real estate market, especially as a buyer, and then you see what's going on, so like you're not delusional, right?
They become more like us.
It's confusing for buyers too, right? Like it's been like the communication has to be really, really on a daily basis, like really strong, like conveying what's happening, because like they're confused. Like this is listed for this. What does this mean? What is this house worth? I thought stuff was selling for under ask. Like there's a lot of confusion, so it's important for us to really just communicate.
But there is also a lot of generalization in the media. So like what's happening in a lot of the more desirable neighborhoods in Toronto, it's like completely, you know what I mean? So it's still getting bully offers and multiple offers. Whereas in the media, they're saying, oh, the market is going to go down another 10% or whatever.
So what I'm hearing from you guys right now is the pain points of our clients. Like all of their pain points are based around it's not that the information that they have is bad, it's dated. We are right now in a market that is moving a lot. It's really important, and like up to the minute information about what's happening in the market. There's never been a more important time to have a trusted advisor on your behalf. Like you cannot work with somebody that you don't absolutely trust, because they're going to give you information that is a couple of days old. And you have to look at that data, know it to be coming from a place of care, and then execute a plan based on that information that you're being given. If you've got an active client that is out in the market right now, the best thing that they can do for their chances to get a house sooner is to be more active than they are. There's no such thing as too active. If you went out and saw everything the day it comes out, and you like it enough to put an offer in immediately. Bully offer if they're holding off. Think about what it like, do a CMA, deliver to them, here are the comps, here's what's going on, this is what I think this is going to sell for. I know that they've got 3 or 4 other showings booked for today. Historically, over the last week, we've seen a lot of activity in this area, because the buyers that you guys are working with are looking in some pretty active areas. Execute. Get in the car. Like the idea of like, I'm available next week on Tuesday. Too late. Because what you've done is you've allowed other people to go and see the property, know enough about it to put in an educated offer. So all you're doing is adding competition.
I personally think the smart agents right now in certain markets, certain price points, they're actually putting no preemptives. So I actually think if you're listing in a hot market, that's actually exactly what I would do. So like no preemptives means you're not leaving any money on the table.
That's right. The one thing I would say is just like watch the offers. How many offers are going on in your neighborhood? If there's 7, 8, 9, 10 offers on other houses, chill. Sign this form and just wait. Wait. Let the showings come, let it do its thing. If you're dealing with sellers in particular, what's the message?
I think your home has to be, I think there's people are willing to pay for a move-in ready home that's well put together. I think everybody's flocking to those homes and not so much, the homes that need work, just because of like the cost of renovations. People don't want to deal with that right now, finding contractors. So I think getting your home in showing home ready for the general public in the best way possible, staging is actually so key in this market.
Mortgages are so expensive now. There's not all that extra money lying around to do the renovations,
Right.
even if they had the
People are
time.
Absolutely
Yeah,
right.
they're
The money's
pretty pushed.
expensive to borrow now
Yeah.
versus a year ago, it was cheap.
Yeah, and it adds some more uncertainty to the purchase price. Like, you know you're gonna have to do these renovations,
Right.
but you don't know how much they're gonna cost.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, certainly something that solves those problems is, again, like a really, like, us. Like, we have the systems in play. Like, we have the people to do, to do major or minor renovations.
And
before you sell.
to get ahead of it too, like what's the worst that's going to happen? You fix up your house a little bit and make your life better if you don't end up selling. And if you do end up selling, you're going to get the maximum value
Yeah.
for your home.
Yeah, yeah, and I do think it's not really a question of like if you're going to say, if you prepare it correctly, and you've got the correct sort of mindset on what it's going to be worth. And kind of one of the things that I always say to sellers is, I'm going to give you a number here, and this is a number that you can take to the bank. I'm not going to pad this up to get the listing. Okay, so any surprise from here forward is a good one. And if you're okay with this number as a minimum, then I think we should execute. This, we can sell for this. I know it. There's other product around. Let's do it. Let's go through the extra effort and aggravation to prepare the house properly. Like you say, like, if I'm wrong, well, I don't get paid, and you get a nicer house.
Yeah, and they don't have to worry about managing the trades or the contractor and the different moving
Yeah.
parts. And you're doing that for them. That's a big stress.
Let me tell you.
As you experience this
Let me
week.
tell you. Like, I still think right now is the best time, and has been for a little while, for move-up buyers. That difference between the two houses, as long as your house isn't trashed, now is a really good time. If your house is trashed, we can fix that, but we can't sell it trashed.
You can, just it's not going to be the price that you want.
You're not going to like the result. Okay. Yeah, it's going to be like $100,000 less than what we could get if we'd actually put, if we spent $10,000 to $15,000 on a house that's smoked, like
Oh yeah. Not
actually smoked. There was, like, yellow everywhere and
Yeah.
carpets and like disaster.
Right.
And so for about $12,000, we completely rehabilitated that house. It's a different house. Like, you walk in there and you're like, whoa.
Even the smell with the ozone machine and everything. Like
Oh,
That changed it? That
Yeah,
actually
it
took
made
out
a
the smoke?
difference.
I actually wrote a letter to the Ontario Real Estate Board about this. If a seller was obligated to accept an offer at full ask or better with no conditions, how would that change the market?
You'd know what their expectations were.
Nobody would just test the market.
Right.
Okay, nobody would do that anymore. Like, anything that's for sale, that stuff is for sale, man.
Right.
If I was, as a listing agent, let's say I went in and I was like, Jonathan, house is worth 1.4. I think we should list at $999. How quickly do you tell me to hit bricks?
Right.
Right? You're like, no way.
Right.
If anything, we're going to list a little high.
Well, they wanted to make that change, right? But then it was like, they were saying like it's up to at the end of it, it's up to the seller what they want to do.
The intent to sell has to be legitimate. If you're going to put this on MLS, I don't think that you're doing anything like, if you open a convenience store and then you decide not to sell milk for $7.99, just because there's a customer behind with milk too. Oh, sorry. There's demand here. The milk's $10 now.
Yeah, I personally that would be great because like it all these like low, attracting multiple offers, you're wasting so many people's time. I agree with that, but I don't think it'll ever happen because you're basically telling the seller what you can and cannot do when you actually sell your home. I feel like there's gonna be way too much.
Yeah, I think there needs to be transparency in the market. If you're selling something,
Well, you can tell them they have to live in their house for more than 6 months now. So
yeah, and that they can't leave it vacant. There's already so many things we're already
That's
telling
true.
people they can and can't do with their homes.
But the seller could also, and they have the right to refuse all offers, take it off the market, and put it back out. Right?
That's a good
Are
point.
you gonna
That's a
are you
good
gonna
point
make
too,
them?
right?
Are you gonna
That's a
say,
good
oh, you're
point.
not allowed to take it off the market and then put it back out at a higher price?
If you receive an offer at full ask or better, you're obligated
It
to
just has
accept.
to do with the listing strategy, right? Like
You're
you
obligated,
cannot, if you get an offer for that price, you have to
Right.
accept
You have
it.
to-
So
So many people I
maybe
talk to, they're
I'll
like,
just-
my house is for sale. I have to have this number. And you go, okay, let's write that number on MLS. That's all.
Right.
yeah,
That's all.
Or maybe
You tell me
they
what
do
you
it
want,
overpriced.
and I will, like, if it's a little bit overpriced.
Yeah.
But the one thing that buyers would not be thinking is, I wonder what they would accept.
Right.
yeah.
That. They
Saved
have
me hours and hours of doing CMAs, like days and days.
it puts more pressure on me as the listing agent in this scenario to get the price right.
Right.
If I get that price wrong, I leave money on the table. If I overprice it by too much, we don't get any showings or offers. It has to be right. And I can say to the seller, you want 1.4? Yeah, you know what? Let's put it out at 1.425. Let's see if we can, get a little bit extra out of it. Or if I price it exactly right, maybe we'll still get multiples. 3 or 4, not 30, but 3 or 4 if it's perfect.
You can still get
You can
multiples
still
for sure.
hold off offers and then, right?
Yeah,
would
but if you
multiple
you get an offer
accept it.
at asking or above asking, it's got a condition in it, by all means.
Right.
But then,
That
and
you can
then
turn
once
down.
the
And there are, you can't tell me that there aren't sellers out there from the last 10 years that weren't like, holy Jesus! Like they just got $100,000 more than they thought they were gonna get.
Yeah.
Tell me that that doesn't affect the market in a negative sort of way. They didn't need that extra to do whatever it is they were doing next. They would have listed it at their expected price and it would have controlled the market.
Right. My personal opinion, I don't think that's ever going to happen because like even
I don't either, because I wrote the letter and I never got a response.
Yeah.
So,
this man's crazy.
they were like, see that guy?
Well, Vancouver this year they have a new thing. It's like all offers are conditional now. There's a conditional period. It doesn't matter. You can't go in
Cooling
for-
off period.
Yeah.
cooling off
But
period.
it can work out the deal.
Yeah,
After
it's kind of like
acceptance.
pre-construction condos where like there's a cooling off period.
Yeah.
But this is the sort of thing is like if an organization cannot regulate itself, then it will be regulated by the government, and that's what's happened in BC. The government stepped in because things were just out of control, and we're not immune to that.